This is the proposal to purchase. So I will fill this form out. I'm going to fill it out based on what we have discussed already. So it's going to say, you as the buyer, I'm the realtor, here's your name, my name, address. And then the first line is the amount of money we're offering. So that's the first line. The second line is how much you're putting as a earnest money deposit, the escrow, which is what we talked about before. So that is what happens when your offer is accepted. That amount of money is due at signing of the contract. Usually it's 1% of the purchase price. So on a $250,000 home, we're going to be putting $2,500 in this line. It's held by either the title company or the listing agent. You get that money back if your mortgage ends up not getting approved, or if we can't come to a meeting of the minds during the inspections. If you back out, if inspection period is done and your mortgage is good to go, and you just simply decide, I'm getting cold feet, I don't want this house, you're basically forfeiting that money. And because of that, the more money you put here as an earnest money deposit, the more serious of a buyer you seem. It tells the sellers, I'm not going to back out. Because I know there's $3,000, $5,000, however much money on the line, I would lose it. What else did I want to mention about that? Okay, if you do make it to closing, it gets credited back to you and comes off of the amount that you owe at closing. So it comes back to you. Okay, so then at the bottom here, you are agreeing to pay the balance, which is basically your offer price minus the amount of earnest money deposit. And then it's asking your financing. Are you FHA, VA, conventional? These are all types of mortgages, which, MAC or your lender will tell you what you qualify for. So we'll check that off. And here's where we're going to put how much your loan is for. Sellers like to see that. They, in their minds, generally, the more money you're putting down, 5%, 10%, 20%, the more money you're putting down, the more solid of a buyer you seem. So if you make an identical offer, if you're a 5% conventional, meaning you're putting 5% down and you have a conventional loan, and your offer is identical to someone else, but the only difference is they're putting 10% down instead of 5%, then the sellers are likely to go with 10%. So you're competing. And we're going to do the best we can with this offer, but at the end of the day, you can only do what's best for you. You don't have the 10%, you're not willing to put it down, whatever the financial situation is, you do the best that you can do. And if we lose because somebody else has more money, you have to just accept it and move on to the next one. But that's why there's so many different terms that we can put in here, because maybe we have better terms than the person putting in the 10%, even though we're 5%. So there's a lot to consider. So this is just the beginning here. So we're putting the amount of money our loan is for, what type of loan we have, and then we're putting in the settlement date, when we want to close. Typically, it's 30 to 45 days between when the contract is signed until closing. MAC can do it in like 3 weeks, if that's what everybody wants. Or sometimes the sellers need as much time as possible because they need to find a house where they know where they're going, but they just need time to clean out the house. So maybe it'll be 60 days or a little bit more. So in this market, in the seller's market, 9 times out of 10, what I'm writing in here is flexible, which means we're good with whatever the seller wants. We're just putting it on them. What's your choice? Do you want a quick closing? Do you want a long one? You tell us, we're good, we're here. If you really need a certain date, we will write something in here. We need to close prior to X date. Okay, so then we're moving on to inclusions and exclusions. So right here it says all fixtures permanently attached to the building, all shrubbery, plantings, fencing, all that's being transferred as part of the property. I also include all existing kitchen appliances, washer, dryer, and I will ask for if there's like a freezer or an extra fridge in the garage. I'm going to put that in there too. basically all the appliances. Unless the seller specifically say they're taking the washer and dryer with them, then we list that as an exclusion here. Fixtures also include light fixtures. So if in the listing, the sellers say their dining room chandelier is a family heirloom, they're taking it with them and replacing it with something else, we would be fine with that. Sure. Okay. And we would say, we would put in here specifically excluded dining room chandelier, because all the other fixtures, everything else is included, because that is written right here, all fixtures. Possession and occupancy, time of settlement, you're going to get possession at closing day. There are some exceptions. We won't even go into them because they're so rare. Inspections, the following inspections shall be ordered by the buyer at the buyer's expense: wood boring insects, which is termites, and carpenter bees, carpenter ants. The most common one that's found, they're really looking for because it creates the most damage, are termites. So we're going to do that. We're going to check that off, and we're going to check off home inspection. If the property has a septic system, we're going to check off the examination of the on-site waste disposal system as well. And other, I usually do a radon test. I recommend a radon test for every home because you just don't know. Radon is a gas that can technically be a carcinogen if it's high enough levels in the home. So the test just measures the level of radon. So anything under a 4.5 PCIL is acceptable. If there's anything higher than a 4.5 PCIL, the sellers are going to be responsible for remediating, for installing a radon mitigation system. If there's a well on the property and it's not public water, then the sellers are responsible for getting an analysis of their private well drinking water so that they can tell the buyer our water is, acceptable levels for drinking. And then section 4 here is going on to basically say the purchase of this property is not contingent upon the sale of any other real estate. I believe the 3 of you here are not contingent. You do not currently own real estate that you have to sell prior to being qualified to purchase the next one. But if you are, or someone that is, you would either check off the second one or the third one. So either it's contingent upon selling a home and that home is currently under contract, or it's contingent upon selling a home and the property is not under contract. So the seller needs to know, if you do have to sell a home first, where are you in that process? Are you almost, past? Do you have a buyer? Do you not even have a buyer yet? So that they know, how long am I going to be waiting? We're going to come back to the other section here. And then this is just basically filling in my information, my brokerage, my relationship is to buyer's agent, and then the listing agent's information. And then I usually sign this on the buyer's behalf. And then I just write in your address and I'll type in, signing on behalf of buyer. So you don't really need to do anything. I'll usually just write out these terms for you in an email and you can confirm that that's all correct. But generally this is filled out by me, signed by me, and submitted to the listing agent. And then the listing agent will present it to the seller. So that's the way the offer process works.